every.
We always go at least twice a year. We've gone since we were nippers, to be honest. It's always the same. Blackpool, of course. It's changed beyond all recognition now, and it's harder to get to since it closed down the central station. But that is why me and Hilda love a coach trip. Hilda? Oh, that's my mate. We've known each other, as I say, since we were kids, and we both got a job at Brown and Moss when we left school. She was always the more outspoken of the two of us, and basically, well, she got me in there too. Dead posh it was. The most exclusive department store in Bradford. 5 floors of luxury. Hilda worked on hats and gloves, and I was a waitress in the cafe. Well, it was called a restaurant, to be honest. It's where all the elite of Manningham Lane met to discuss their neighbours, parkings, and how much they all paid for their coal. Oh, we go back a long way, me and Hilda. We both decided to start the coach trips after she was widowed and needed to get out more. She and her husband Jack, along with me and my Bert, always teamed up and stayed at the Sea View in Coronation Street, Blackpool. We went every year for years. Mrs. Taylor, who ran it, kept a very respectable house. Proper meals, great choice, and always a lovely pudding to finish. She had a wonderful front parlour complete with piano, and we'd all go into it every evening when we were wanting to relax, and she'd bring out batches of potted meat baps and huge mugs of tea. Just the ticket when you've trekked the length and breadth of the North Pier with winds and water to see Anne Shelton and Frank Randall, I can tell you. Of course, all that is a long time ago now, sadly. We do stay in a guest house now, but the owner's a bit snotty, though heaven knows why, because she only comes from Bolton. She refers to the B&B as a boutique hotel. I thought that was where you bought your summer tops from. Still, it's clean and she caters for the more seasoned visitor. I'll give her that. She puts on bingo at night, and twice a week a singer pops in. She sings all the old songs like Alma and Ruby. Oh, it's cracking. It's all in for the week too, so it's ideal for pensioners like me and Hilda. Oh, there's a lift as well. It's a bit creaky and goes to the first 2 floors, but not to the third. That's the extension, you see, and those rooms are not, as they say, en suite, or without bathrooms if you're not posh like me. Still, the rooms have proper candlelit bedspreads. None of that fancy duvet stuff which makes me smothered on a night. Oh, and she offers the use of a hot water bottle too, should you feel a nip in the air, of course. Hey, we both highly recommend it. I digress as ever, so here we are waiting at the bus stop looking out for the coach. Wallace Arnold's brand new deluxe destination coach, no less, we were told. Well, that's what we were told when we booked at the office. I say booked. Some spotty-faced youth with longer hair than Rapunzel snatched the brass and muttered something about how we could have saved some money if we booked online. Online, I ask you. We just both looked at him. Just as we were stood there waiting, we heard the clatter of some clerks' shoes, and there she was, late as ever, clutching a co-op carrier like it was surgically attached to her arm. "Have I missed it?" she wails. "Sorry, am I late?" "I've just had one of me funny turns and had to take one of me tablets and a sit down. It's put me right out." Joyce Fothergill. She was never on time, and more Hilda's friend than mine. Hilda met her when she was in hospital, and Joyce was seeing a doctor about her nerves. Since then she's been hanging around with us and getting on mine, but Hilda says she's quite nice if you get to know her. I just smile. Joyce babbles on about her latest tablets and how they've helped with her turns, etc. Finally, thank goodness, the coach turns up, and the door flies back with such a swish it almost whipped off me roll-on. And there we were, faced with Brian the driver, unshaven, busting out of a shirt and a bit brusque. He said, "I'm not meant to be on this trip. I were down for Skegness, but someone's phoned in sick, so I'm all behind." He looked at our tickets and said, "There's only 2 seats left on this coach. Is the pal there just to see you off?" Suddenly Joyce looks a bit startled and said, "Did you not book for me then?" to Hilda. Oh dear. It turns out as ever that Joyce had left her purse at her daughter's and asked Hilda to get her a ticket. Thing is, as Hilda pointed out, I did tell her to get her own. After all, I never saw those cotton buds back I loaned her. She's known for it. Any road, upshot is, we left Joyce standing on the pavement while we boarded the coach. We're not happy though, as our seats are not together. They were, But Mary Walker had offered to sit with her pal Sheila, as she's just had a webbing adjusted and may need help, so bingo go our seats. Still, I'm next to Mrs. Jones. Nice enough woman, used to work in our local surgery. Wore a nurse's uniform, yet all she did really was answer the phone and sup coffee. She parks her bag on her lap and whips out a tin of mints. I'm quite bilious on a coach, she announced. Fancy, I thought. We talked. Well, I say talked, I listened, and she told me all about her ailments and what a bad daughter she'd got. It never stopped, to be honest. I even pulled out me Dick Francis to swear off, but oh no, she twittered on all the way right through to the prom. I kept looking round for Hilda, but she too had passed out with her own paperback and was nodding away with the movement of the coach. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you, another incident happened when we hit the services. Well, we weren't actually supposed to stop at the services because this new deluxe coach had its own toilet, but someone, shall we say, had blocked it with a, well, let's just call it an article. Anyway, we pulled up at the services and, I have to say, shocking prices, £2.40 for a small coffee in a paper cup with a milk jigger that you just put in yourself. I passed on the offer of a Happy Meal as the girl serving it looked like she'd been trained by Hitler Youth. So it turns out that Hilda's told me that she's decided to have a crack at another job. Yes, at her age. Hospital radio, as an agony aunt, I ask you. She cracked on she was inspired by a feature she had read in her Yours magazine. Apparently it was sandwiched between a diet sheet from Sue Pollard and a cut-out and wear knitting pattern from Judy Finnegan. She reasoned that she'd always been good with people, and they always asked her about advice. So she thought, why not? Apparently she starts next week. She's packing her one-day week in also at the charity shop. She claims it's dropped off. The quality of the stuff and the lack of hygiene apparently were the main factors. And with that, she whips off to the ladies. Oh, the sea air felt good when we got to our favourite seat on the prom. We always sit up north just by the Imperial Hotel. We both often remark how we see all of life go by just sat here. Just as we'd finished our Mr. Whippies, these girls walked past in skirts that could only be described as brief as a bandage. Both were smoking and covered in that much makeup it was hard to tell their own nationality. Then I saw both of them with double buggies. 2 little kiddies in each. A right mixed bag they were. They looked like the Olympic Village on wheels. Hilda remarked that the place had gone off of late, but I just said, look, it's a reflection of the times. Then a man popped up, waving, of course, one of those free student mags. We both waved him off. We've always agreed there's not one good recipe in any of those freebies. Hilda then drops another bombshell and says she may not want to come for the full Illuminations week. Why? We always do. That's just it, she says. I fancy an adventure. This year I kind of want to do something different. She goes on to say that a new pal at the radio station, Helen, who lives in a bungalow in Hare Hills, has told her of this great offer in Spain. What would you do there? What about your pills and your water? I told her, you won't like it, you can't stand the heat, and remember, you were smothered in Scarborough and that was just a hot day. She announces that she wants to go and see the other side of life. She claims she was inspired after seeing an Ava Gardner film called The Barefoot Contessa on a BBC Two afternoon matinee, and that sort of told her there was more to life than Blackpool. Fancy. The rest of the day was a blur. Oh yes, we did the same as we always do. Bingo on the pier, lovely afternoon tea with toasted tea cake, proper tea and a nice side jug of hot water too. Hilda though kept blithering on about Spain and how I should open my horizons. I told her that happened when I was stuck in the lift of the tower, way back in '57 with a hula hoop salesman, thank you very much. The trip back in a coach is always eventful. Someone started a sing-song, and then Mary, complete with webbing, cobbled up with a hat and suggested a collection for the driver. Lord knows, though, she thinks if she starts a collection, we won't notice that she never puts anything in. She does it all the time. She's been doing it for years. As the coach gets nearer the stops, they all say goodnight and wave frantically from the side of the bus. It's been a good day. Lovely weather, in fact. Well, just right. Do you know, looking at my arms, I think I've got a bit of a tan. I'll have to root out that Nulon when I get in. I got a card this morning from Hilda. She's in Spain. Looks a nice place according to the postcard, but she's not best pleased. She writes on the back, the hotel is not finished, and she said she can't get a ski yoghurt for love nor money on the breakfast buffet. She goes on to say that, on reflection, she might have been a bit hasty cancelling our trip to the lights, and could she change her mind? I smiled to myself. She goes on to say that she's cut back on her outings with Helen from Hare Hills as she's not a fan, apparently, of pound stores. I had to laugh to myself. I thought, well, what did she expect? She's from Hare Hills. Hilda's back a week on Wednesday. We're down to give a hand at the craft fair, so I think I'll discuss it with her then. It's good to know, though, that as ever, we're going to be back to the sea view and back to our beloved Blackpool. Oh, and the lights too.